Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome back to another installment of the Fool's Interpretation of the Havamal. I am your host, Robert the Fool, and this evening we are going to be discussing stanzas 47, 48, 49, 50, and 51. I've decided after the last couple of episodes, I'm tired of dealing with this shitty $20 microphone. So I'm going to save up like $150 and get myself a better microphone. Because I've been told many times when I give a speech or I speak in front of people for whatever reason, whether it be at a funeral or a wedding or when I was in college or in the military, I've been told that I have a good speaking voice, and so I'm tired of listening to how shitty it sounds through this microphone. Plus, I know that it's kind of annoying to listen to a crappy audio recording. You know, people like myself and the men that I assume I'm speaking to, young and old, I assume that you don't mind potato productions like what I'm putting on, but it is annoying to have the static in the background and the metallic sound in somebody's voice when it's coming from the audio quality instead of them sounding like Geralt of Rivia or something. But without any further ado, let's get into these stanzas. So the top part of stanza 47 is cut off because it's on the previous page, and if you watched the previous episode, you would be able to see those first two lines. However, I will read them so you will hear them, and then we will pick up together with you following along and continue from there. The same thing will happen with stanza 51. The last couple of lines are cut off, however, I will read them, and in the next episode, if you watch, you will see them when we move on to the next page. So, let's get into this. 47. I was young once. I walked alone, and I became lost on my way. I felt like I was rich when I met another traveler. People's joy is in other people. This is a stanza I don't think is obvious. A lot of people think, especially, well, everybody always wants to say, especially in today's world, when they're talking about something that's like all fucked up about their society during the time that they live in. And they don't have, even though we might have written or video of the written documents or video documents of the past, and we read them or we look at them, uh, you can never exactly know what it was like back then. And so everybody's always saying the youth are the worst today than they've ever been. I mean, you can look up like a couple thousand-year-old quotes from people in Greece where they're talking about the youth don't respect their parents or the law or their elders and blah blah blah. And I'm like, bro. So like anytime you get people living in a metropolitan like city scenario, whether it's Greece or Babylon or wherever, some any fucking city, you get a bunch of people together, people start going ape shit, start acting a fool. Uh, and and when that happens, people think they can go at life alone. You know, uh, we've all seen the crazy cat lady, and the opposite of the crazy cat lady is the is the crazy conspiracist dude that like always gets made fun of. He's like this kind of old guy that lives alone, the tinfoil hat dude. He's usually a hoarder, and he's got like every Sunday newspaper for the last 40 years. And then, yeah. So, and these people are never happy. Um, uh, Gosh, what is that book? I'm forgetting it. I think it's Into the Wild. Hold up a second. I'm going to look it up real quick because this just popped into my head. The quote from his book. Um, but yeah, Into the Wild. Or maybe that's just the name of the movie adaptation. But I remember reading the book in high school also. Uh, well, alternative school, because I've previously talked about how I dropped out sophomore year. So this was my junior year when I was in alternative school. I spent my senior year in military school for 6 months. But when the main character is up in Alaska and he's finally found a place where he can be happy, and he's like, this place is amazing. He's like, I'm out in nature, like I'm living. He's like, I'm not exactly starving. He's roughing it, but he's surviving, and he's doing good. And he realizes how happy he is, and then he realizes that he has nobody to express his happiness to, or share it with, or experience his happiness with. And he realizes that if you don't have anybody to share your thoughts, your emotions, your accomplishments, your failures, your happiness with, if you don't have anybody to share your happiness with, then it's pointless. It's fucking pointless. You might as well not be happy if if there's no one to be happy with, because you get to that point, you get to the crest of the wave of what you're trying to accomplish, to your existential realization and accomplishment, and you peak, and you get this wave of, like, this wave of calm and excitement all at the same time. And you look to your left because you want to tell the person that you're with this amazing feeling, and there's nobody there. You have nobody to share it with. You have nobody to share it with except you, yourself, and I. And you, yourself, and I already know what you're going to say to them. That it's it's pointless to do things alone. And even if you build something physical and then, like, carve your name into it, and say, like, you build a bridge that connects two cities, and nobody ever knows that you built that bridge, and then you carve your name into the bridge. You say, I hear John Thomas built this bridge in the year 1748, blah blah blah, and I spent this many years doing it. All they're gonna know is, like, your name. Like, they're not gonna know you, and then you aren't even. God, that was kind of a bad example. Basically, let's stick with the Into the Wild example. This motherfucker goes out to find happiness, gets out to the middle of nowhere, finds happiness, and then realizes it's pointless when he has nobody to share it with. And he was so confident the entire time, saying fuck you to everybody. Fuck you to his parents, fuck you to his girlfriend, fuck you to his friends, fuck you to society, and fuck you to all the people that he met along the way during his travels that wanted to build a relationship with them. He was like, no, fuck that. I got more important shit to do. I'm trying to find happiness. Little did he know, he probably could have found true happiness with a number of the people that he met along the way if he would have just hitched his wagon to one of them. Let's move on to the next stanza. 48. Kind, brave people live best. They never nurture a grudge. But an unwise man worries about everything. He dreads even repaying a gift. This this stanza actually reminds me exactly of, like, George Costanza from Seinfeld. He is neither kind nor brave, and he doesn't live well at all. Like, he's not kind because he's always looking, like, how to get one over on somebody, like like let me think of an example where he's trying to an episode where he's trying to like the bookstore when he takes a book into the bathroom to read it, and then they find out about it, so they flag it and they make him buy it, and so then he thinks that they screwed him over, right? So then he wants to steal another book and then of the same kind and then return it so he can get his money back, and then he's going to keep the one that they made him buy. So that's him nurturing a grudge, because like somebody would be like, nurture a grudge, but in the last episode you were talking about getting revenge and like paying back treachery with treachery. Okay, see, a grudge is something petty, like the book that George is pissed off about. He fucked up. He had to buy the book, and he should have accepted what he did. But instead, he developed a grudge against the bookstore, and then he nurtured it and let it ruin his, like, the entire episode. He's not having a good time because he's all pissed off about trying to get back at the bookstore for them making him buy it. And he's not brave. The episode when when there's like a fire at the kid's birthday party because he's like dating this chick, and then he tramples over everybody to get out of the fire because it's like a couple of hamburgers like started to burn on the barbecue or something. And so he tramples over kids, the grandma, everybody, and and then the clown ends up putting out the fire and saving the day. And then he's everybody is like calling him out about it, when he's outside talking to the firemen and paramedics, and he's all waving his hands around trying to explain himself about how he was really the one. He was leading the way, clearing a path for people to get out because there was a fire and you need a leader. And so it's like, dude, yeah, he's not kind, he's not brave, and he's a wreck in every single episode. And again, this whole stanza is exactly like George Costanza, but every time, an unwise man worries about everything, just like George, and even repaying a gift. Like, there are times when somebody will do something for like Seinfeld or George, for like Jerry or George and them, and they're like, oh yeah, like Seinfeld would be all like, oh yeah, don't forget we get him a gift, and then George would be like, oh, a gift for this. Somebody gets married, you gotta get them a gift. Somebody has a baby, so you gotta give them a gift. Somebody moves, you gotta give them a gift. Somebody has a birthday, you gotta give them a gift. It's like, bro, like, this is why George has no good personal relationships with anybody. Like, he hates doing all the things that build healthy reciprocal relationships with people. He doesn't want to help them out. He doesn't want to go out of his way for people. He doesn't want to get people a gift for anything. And in fact, when he does get people gifts, he tries to be as cheap about it as humanly possible. Whether it's the red spot on the cashmere sweater that he buys Elaine for Christmas, or it's the massage chair that they go in on together for the Drake, but then they all pull out and George has to end up buying it and keeping it for himself because then I'm not going to go into the whole episode of that, but yeah, he says he can get a deal on the chair, but really he's just like lying about it and getting everybody else to pay for it, and then the whole thing gets fucked up and thrown in George's face. But yeah, so don't be like George Costanza. 49. I gave my clothes to two scarecrows once when I walked in a field. They thought they were human as soon as they had clothes on. A naked man feels ashamed. Now, this one has always been one that has tripped me up. Like the one with the brooding with dry skin. Because everybody's always like, why are you giving your clothes to scarecrows, to two scarecrows when you're walked in a field? Like, now you're naked and the scarecrows have clothes and they thought they were human, and now you as the naked man feel ashamed. But I don't think that's what it's talking about at all. There's a lot. I feel like there's a lot to unpack in this stanza. Okay, so uh, in there's parts in the Hávamál where it talks about how when you leave your house and you go to court, like you should comb your hair, you should clean yourself up, you should wear your nicer clothes and things like that. And it's talking about how you and you shouldn't be ashamed if the things you own and your clothes and whatnot are that of a poor person, you know. And I think um and then and and you, even if you're poor and you don't have the means to dress yourself up a lot, it's important that you dress yourself up as much as you can when you go out in public to do things, because because even though you shouldn't be ashamed of being poor, when if you don't put any effort into presenting yourself, and then like when people stare at you, they see that you're like, not only do you have ragged clothes, but they're dirty and you're dirty. And it's like, why? Like, just because you have an old jacket and old pants that are like faded jeans with maybe with a hole in the knee or something like that, you don't have to be dirty. Your jeans don't have to be dirty. You can do a wash. Even if you're poor, hey, don't buy that 6-pack of tall boys on your way home from work. Buy that box of detergent and wash your fucking clothes. Like like that is more important than the 4 hours of quasi relaxation you're going to get out of that 6-pack. No. You will feel much better if you spend that money on some detergent, wash your clothes, and while your clothes are washing, you study the Havamal and try to change your actions to be more like what Odin says we should be like. And then when you commit actions that follow the moral guideline of the Havamal, and you think about that as the days go on, and then you continue studying while you're washing your clothes at night instead of drinking, you will get that sense of accomplishment and like of pride, which is different than bravado. You should fill yourself with pride from the things that you do. Just don't let that pride turn into bravado, because then, like if you're the guys that I do like Muay Thai with, that I've seen who are full of bravado and then get their asses handed to them, it's fucking hilarious. And so, like when it comes to these scarecrows, the scarecrow doesn't do its job of scaring away fowl like birds. The scarecrow won't scare away birds if it doesn't look like a human, if it doesn't look like a good representation of a human. If it's just a couple of sticks with some rags on them or something, then the birds are going to come land on it. It really needs to look as much like a human as possible, so that the birds stay away. And what I think that is kind of in reference to is that makes, the more the scarecrow looks like a human, the better it's able to do its job. So I feel like the more effort we put into ourselves, the better we are able to do our job. Like if you take care of not only your clothes and your outward appearance, but then you eat well, then you exercise, then you study things, you study your religion, you study uh, just you just be autodidactic, you know. Um, you Doing all that stuff will make you be better in life in general, and then the better you do in life, you feel more like a human, because I guarantee you, I mean, just by watching interviews with the drug addicted homeless, you go online and go onto Reddit or X or YouTube or wherever you want, Google, whatever, and look up interviews with drug addicted homeless people from Portland. They literally tell you how they don't feel like humans. They feel like animals. They feel like they're treated like animals by society and everybody else, even though our state we give them clothes and food and tents. We give them cell phones. Uh, we give them food stamps. We max out their food stamps, and we give them. They get places to sleep and stay and wash clothes, and they get drug paraphernalia. They get Narcan given to them. The city takes care of their every whim, but they don't feel like they're humans, and they talk about how they feel like animals, and it's because they don't take care of themselves. They don't take care of their environment that they live in. They don't they don't they they don't try to clothe themselves in any sort of way, and they are naked in every aspect of society, and that is why they feel ashamed and like animals. 50. A fir tree decays standing over a farm, no longer protected by bark and needles. A person is the same way if nobody loves him. How will he live much longer? So I think this is so now that my family has had a farm for like 10 years, and I've been living on it for like 1 year now. What this reminds me of is, it reminds me of seeing, like, there's the field part, there's fields on our property, and then there's wooded areas. And the uh, the animals like to hang out under the cover of the trees, like they'll go uh, because they get protection from the sun or the rain or whatever, from the branches and whatnot. And 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 you have to, and then and for that tree for the animals to be able to use that tree as a spot of protection, uh, the tree has to be maintained by the farmer. Like when we first got here, there was this tree out in one of the fields, and it was all covered up in pine need like well it wasn't a pine tree, it was a Douglas fir. So but the needles on the tree, there was like when we first got to this farm, there's like a couple feet worth of fallings, like from the needles and everything falling off this tree, and building up around the base of the trunk of the tree. And I started clearing it away because I knew that it was causing rot around the trunk of the tree. I could see it. I could see that it was causing rot. And this rot was making the bark come off of the tree. And I could see And then because of that, I could see how ants had started digging their way into the tree and making an ant farm inside the tree. So I raked away all the needles and everything, the other debris. And then I could see in the large root system, at the actual ground level of the trunk of the tree, that these ants had just totally turned like the large parts of the roots that kind of like bulge out of the ground. Like these were just like big entrance ways into their ant farm. And they had totally, like, this tree was, even though it looked alive and there was new growth like each year on the tree. It was dying, like it was basically a dead tree. We had um, a tree company, come out and inspect all the trees on the property, and then we had to cut down some sick ones and cut down some dead ones, and then they gave us a list of ones that were likely to be dead later, whatever. And like this was one of them. They were like, this tree should just be cut down. It's donezo. And uh, and I feel, and a person is the same way. If nobody loves him, how will he live much longer? That you need. This reminds me of when you don't realize you're lacking something you need in your personal health. And this is why it's important to have a significant other. This is why, like, you need your woman to tell you when you need to do something to take care of yourself. Um, I like we as men we're strong, assertive, capable men, and we exude authority when we speak and do things. But what you don't want a pitiful, submissive woman that you just trounce all over in your relationship. You need a Frigg kind of a character to tell you when she thinks you're going to be wrong, or when you think you need to change something, uh, or you or you need to do something for yourself to take care of yourself because you're neglecting your health, and you don't notice it because when, because when we spiral, you you're only looking like straight down in the center. You're not noticing everything going on around you that's affecting you. So the same way a tree on the farm has to be taken care of by the farmer so that it doesn't die, you need a significant other to help take care of you so that you don't die. Stanza 51. The friendship among false friends burns warmly for 5 days, but then it's extinguished. I'm sorry. But then it's extinguished by the 6th day, and the friendship is over. This reminds me of when I met this dude when I was, how old was I? I was 18. And literally for 6 months, we didn't notice this. And then, I mean, it wasn't exactly 6 months, but we went from summertime, probably like July, to like getting like sometime in November, because I remember we hung out on Halloween. So we spent a series of months, and we hung out like damn near every single day. Um, and we were the best of friends, never had a problem, even got into some brawls with some people, and, like building up our friendship by fucking up other people together, some, some typical man shit. And then one time, for a reason that I have no idea, because I wasn't at home at the time, and then this basically ended the friendship. He stole from me and my brothers, and I was never able to figure out why. Uh, well, I don't feel like talking shit about him, so I'm not going to speculate on reasons based on actions in his life that I would know he's done. Uh, but like, well, he's a drug addict, so I'm gonna chalk it up to him doing drugs. Uh, and I mean, so what I think this stanza is talking about is like, be careful who you just think. Be careful about who you think is your best friend. Be careful about who you think is somebody that you know, or somebody that you think might have your back or whatever. And I don't mean like in a fight. I mean like at work. Like, be careful who you talk to at work. Work is especially there's that that fucking term again. Especially these days. I'm sure it was like this all the time. At work, you in Oregon, you get your ass fired at the drop of the hat by saying the wrong thing to the wrong person. So, you don't want to be telling the wrong joke or talking the wrong kind of shit, while you're at work or something, to people that you think are comfortable with what you're going to say, and they're not. Because then they go complain, and then you get written up, or you get fired, or whatever. So before you completely open yourself up to somebody, uh, you know, just I'd say make sure you can honestly trust them. And the the way that you can figure that out, I think, is when people confide in each other. But you also got to be careful about that too, because that's one way that some people will manipulate you. So just like constantly what the Hávamál is talking about, it's like slight cynicism and slight paranoia in everything that you do. Um, like, just take everything with a grain of salt. And I think that basically finishes it up for the evening. It's 12:04 right now. I'm getting tired, and so I'm gonna let you guys go and get ready for whatever the fuck it is you guys are doing, and I will talk to you all later.